Metropolitan Assembly, KMA Clinic, and 9 other health facilities shut down by the Health Facilities and Regulatory Agency, HIFRA, as part of its ongoing enforcement exercise. Details of these and more in the next 30 minutes. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Many thanks for joining us. Let's get into the detail. The government and leadership of the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC, are coming under intense pressure from sections of the party's grassroots who say they feel sidelined after the NDC's return to power. Some supporters and campaign volunteers have taken to social media and local party platforms to express disappointment, demanding recognition and job opportunities in return for their efforts during the campaign. Party leadership has since been engaging stakeholders across the country, appealing for calm and unity while assuring members that their concerns are being addressed. Officials say leadership is developing practical and fair ways to resolve issues relating to jobs, welfare, and inclusion within the party structure. NDC National Chairman Johnson Esiedum-Ketia, who's currently on a thank you tour of the Volta region, has been addressing foot soldiers' concerns. My colleague Faisal Abdul Ibrahim joins us on the phone. Faisal Abdul Idrisu, the NDC is very high among expectations and NDC grassroots. What has the national chairman been saying on his thank you tour?
The national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedum-Ketia, has been telling party members here in the region that it is too early for government to create space for everyone. He assured them yesterday that the journey to coming into government was one that they needed the support and work of everyone in the party. And today, they do not take that for granted. He's assuring party members that, for instance, people who have been appointed DC, those who have been appointed ministers, others would have loved to assume such positions. But because they can't have everyone playing these roles, they have had to settle on some people. And that they must unite and offer their support to government in order to deliver on their promises. He's saying that as long as the NDC stays in office, they will take care of every other person and ensure that they achieve all the promises they have made to the Ghanaian people. He is saying that the disunity and, so to speak, the disgruntled, the people who are disgruntled over some of these appointments should calm their nerves because the party will definitely not forget their talk.
Faisal, so what has been the response of the grassroots to this? Maybe from when he said this, the reaction in the room and all of that. Does it look like they are a bit satisfied with this while the national level looks for a lasting solution to this?
Well, some sections of the party members here in the region keep saying that they trust government would meet their expectations by way of creating employment, by way of giving people jobs. Some are still not too sure of what will happen with all these promises government is making. And so it's a matter of misfeeling across the region. But the assurance is given is that even if not within these 4 years, it is important the NDC continues to stay in office. That way, they can get some opportunities, they can get jobs that they so much desire.
Right. Faisal, thank you for those updates. My colleague in the Volta region, Faisal Idrisu, updating us on that. Let's stay on this a while longer and engage the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and also Deputy Director in charge of operations at the presidency, Mustafa Gbande. Mr. Gbande, thank you for making time to talk to us. Many grassroots members say they feel abandoned. Okay, we're working the phone to connect to Mustafa Gbande. When we get him, we'll speak to him. We can listen to the NDC chairman, Johnson Esiedum-Ketia, who has been talking to us about this and what the party intends to do to respond to the concerns by the grassroots. We apologize. We'll bring you that audio subsequently. This is the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. From the quarters of the NDC, let's go to the NPP, because the New Patriotic Party presidential hopeful Brian Agyemang says he is confident of securing a commanding victory in the Greater Accra region ahead of the party's national conference. Addressing the media after wrapping up his regional tour, Mr. Agyemang revealed that internal polls conducted by his team show he could win between 75% and 80% of votes in the region. The NPP is expected to hold its national delegate conference on January 31. My colleague Noble Crosby Annan is with the Brian Agyemang team. He'll be joining us for more on this. While at it, let's listen to what Brian Agyemang has been saying.
After every tour, visiting any and every constituency, we poll. Post my visit to the place, we conduct polls, extensive polls. We poll a minimum of 25% of the voting population in that constituency. The 10 questions that we put to them from the team, we always become confident with the numbers that come up. In Greater Accra, all the polls that we have conducted, and I would be happy to share some of the constituencies with you after this, so you understand the kind of questions we ask, and the answers we get, and how we're able to predict that we're going to do well in these constituencies. For the good ones, we're polling about 75-80%. I think that what we have seen was lower 50%. And those were just 2 constituencies out of the 34. And everything else that we have polled has been above 70%. So well, plus or minus 5%. I think that we should be doing very, very well in Greater Accra. So that's what brings my confidence up.
Well, Brian Agyemang has also been touching on recent polls involving the flag bearership position. We can listen to him.
To put up polls that put myself ahead of others. I'm sure that I can have some friendly posters and do same for me. They do not concern me. Most of these polls are psychological operations on the system, totally meaningless. I don't intend to sponsor polls in my favor. I'm sure that I shouldn't be leaning down that if I wanted to, I could. I think that the polls are on the grounds. You go on the grounds to the actual delegates in the constituencies, and you get the answers. I'm here in this campaign office. Many people come with their polls, and you are winning, you are 90%, you are 70%. Give us money so that we're going to put it in the papers, put it on online portals. I'm not interested in any of that. I mean, I've seen some polls that puts me at 1%.
Brian Agyemang is an NPP flag bearer hopeful. Let's connect to my colleague Noble Crosby Annan, who has been sitting through this press up by Brian Agyemang. Crosby, we have been listening to the SOTs from Brian Agyemang, his confidence in all of this, but you have been also in the room where all of this is happening. Talk to us about what you see there.
Well, great. So it's mainly an engagement that Brian Agyemang had with some members of the media, and it was to provide us an update on how his campaign has been going, particularly the Greater Accra region and his plans going forward. And he says that he's very confident of victory in the Greater Accra region. He says if elections are held today in the Greater Accra region, he has no doubt in his mind that he's going to win because of strategies he has adapted to get to know the thinking or get into the minds of the delegates. He responded to
Crosby, can you hear me?
Many of the polls, and he is not concerned about those polls. He knows what he has to do to win the elections, and he's confident that he's going to win. He's also talking about his campaign strategy, that he's not employing any propaganda techniques. Some maybe his opponents may be adopting, but he's told his supporters, all his followers, that they should conduct a clean campaign, and they are able to win with a clean campaign. And he's asking that all people speaking against others, they know who their supporters are, And then if he's saying that if you cannot control your supporters, then it's dangerous, if we give you the entire country to lead. So these are just a few of the things he's talking about. He started on the issue of Galamsey, and he's asking that there should be a ban on all forms of mining for 90 days so that, authorities will be able to sit and then have an idea how to deal with the Galamsey matters. He's advocating for a ban of all mining activities for 90 days. So these are just a few of the things that Brian Agyemang has been talking about.
And we have seen polls put him at 1% in the whole race and other opinions. What has been his response also to these polls?
Well, he says they're only a psychological tool on the delegates, but he is insisting that the real polls will be on the ground. We'll get to know at the end of the primaries what the polls really suggested. He's saying that some people are coming to him that they have conducted polls concerning him and his leading, and he needs to pay some money so that they can publish it and influence the decision of delegates. But he's saying that is how come some polls are not, putting him in the top. He's not concerned about it. He does not really care about polls conducted by other people. He says some may be influenced, some may be, if you like, paid for or bought.
All right, Crosby, thank you for those updates. My colleague, Noble Crosby, and I'm bringing us updates from that media engagement by Brian Agyemang, who is one of the 5 who are seeking to be the flag bearers of the NPP. We'll see how that pans out. This is the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's do other stories now. The Director for Policy Engagement and Partnerships at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Asante, has described the growing monetization of politics as an existential threat to Ghana's democracy. According to him, excessive campaign spending often becomes a waste of public resources and undermines the integrity of the political process. Dr. Asante is therefore calling for comprehensive legislation to regulate political party financing. He made the call on TV3's Agenda program on Tuesday. We can listen to him.
But the point is that a lot of the expenditure is a waste of resources. We don't need a lot of that expenditure, but people have to do it because their competitors are also doing it. And in a competitive environment, if somebody else is doing it and is allowed to do it, and you don't do it, you're probably going to lose. So that has to be regulated all the way from internal party processes to public elections. It's not just about the public elections that we should care about. Those people who emerge out of the party processes to become ministers and get appointed to run the state, the processes that they go through is very important. It has to be sacrosanct. The same way we would regulate doctors and nurses and accountants and so on, because we are trying to prevent the harm that they will cause public. It's the same way we have to regulate potential public officers.
Meanwhile, the executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Anwelana Ada, says sustainable civic action will be essential if meaningful reforms in political financing are to be achieved.
Agents of states would want to take advantage of the system. We need the reforms Kojo has proposed, but we need civic action, collective action to change the situation, because citizens are clearly also becoming very complicit in this agenda. We need to ensure that we have laws that clearly define campaign periods for us. We need the legislation that clearly defines who should and who can make contributions to our party. We need regimes that speak to transparency and why the person who is standing for public office must necessarily give account of every peso they are receiving. Cutting the campaign period to 6 months would be a very ideal way of helping, and I know the parties and candidates would also support.
You heard Mary Ada, she is Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. To other stories, the family of slayed investigative journalist Ahmed Swale has expressed disappointment in the inability of the state to find the murderer of their relative 6 years after he was killed. The Medina District Court on Tuesday discharged the lead suspect in the murder of the journalist. Daniel Owusu-Kwanting, an investigative journalist, had been charged with abetment of crime and murder in connection connection with the death of Ahmed Swale, prosecution alleged that he led 2 other culprits currently at large to the home of Ahmed Swale, where he was eventually shot and killed by unknown assailants. According to 3 news sources, the Attorney General cited failure by the police prosecution to gather sufficient evidence as the reason for the discontinuation. But the spokesperson for the Swale family, Mustafa Idrisu, expressed disappointment in the turn of events.
It has been a pain to the family over the years, and all we have been looking for is for the states to be able to get the people who committed this heinous crime. So when somebody gets arrested, and then the family is excited that at the end of the day, at least somebody has been arrested and being prosecuted over this particular issue, then all of a sudden, you hear that the accused person has been left free to go. Definitely, as a family, we're not happy about this development. The family is saddened about this whole development.
The family further wants the sketches produced by eyewitnesses to be made public to help in the speedy arrest of the suspects.
If it were to be somebody who has killed the police, by now they would have made public the people that they are suspecting. Why are they keeping it? Why is the police keeping the sketches of the individuals? Why are they keeping it? So that they are the only people that will go around and look for the persons? Maybe one of them, if I find somebody who looks like that, why wouldn't I report that to the police? So if you are not able as an institution to be everywhere in the country, there are people who can help. Why wouldn't they bring it out?
Mustafa Idrisu is spokesperson for the Swale family. This is still the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Time now for a breather. We're back shortly.
Hello, Ghana.
Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly's clinic was among over a dozen health facilities locked up by Health Facilities Regulatory Agency HIFRA in a 2-day irregularities crackdown in the Ashanti region. It was discovered that the health facility has been operating without a license. Some dental clinics, maternity homes, physiotherapy and eye care centers operating in the Ashanti region have been embroiled in several infractions. Farmer Dr. Agyemang is Director of Compliance and Enforcement at HIFRA and he's been speaking to the news team.
I would say so far so good. We have been able to visit 20 facilities, and out of that, we've been able to close down 18 of them. The exercise continues unabated. We intend to do more over the coming days. We are just from Greater Accra. We are in Ashanti. Other regions should be in wait for us. We expect that people will do the right thing by making sure that they are using the right personnel, by making sure that they have HEFRA license before they begin their operations, by making sure that whenever their HEFRA licenses expire, they take expeditious steps to have them renewed. And that is the essence of our mandate. Our mandate says that we are to license all health facilities, both public and private. So we want to sound a warning to all the public health facilities as well, that the target is not private health facilities. we are coming after all health facilities.
Dr. Agyemang, Director of Compliance and Enforcement at HEFRA, speaking to us about that crackdown in the Ashanti region. And away from that, the Association of Rice Farmers in the Mamprugu, Mogduru districts of the Northeast region have petitioned government over poor market and prices for their produce. The farmers, while registering their displeasure over the prices, urge government to fulfill its promise of buying surplus grains, including rice, directly from local farmers, as any further delay would cause them a severe financial loss. Recently, rice farmers in the country have faced challenges with market as several thousand metric tons of rice remain unsold. Let's listen to the farmers.
Currently, it's time for harvesting, but the issue right now is, if you look at even the whole district, no farmer has even a storage facility to even store our produce. And the critical part is, we don't even have combined to also harvest our farm. But the lucky part, others has also brought in some combined that we are harvesting.
Price no kura wolo so obi antime beto fi se de kokumase a obi anto enti me gina ha ema emutofo nyina na akuefo se ya pam cho yakoto dwefufom yo ma ma ye srew boa ye bra akuefo no so bre.
We heard some farmers there. My colleague Christopher Maku has been following on this development. Christopher, we know government says it has released 100 million cedis to buffer stock to buy the surplus grains. Why are the farmers still complaining?
Yes, so Grace, it has to do with the fact that these farmers are yet to see that reflect in their pockets, because according to them, they have also heard that government has released some monies for the buffer stock to buy these surplus grains, but no buyer from any government institution or buffer stock has come to their communities to buy the rice. And so they are urging government to ensure that once it has said that they have directed buffer stock to buy, then government must walk the talk, because as it stands now, they still have excess from last year production and they have started harvesting for this year. And so if they harvest this year, adding to last year's surplus, then it means that they are going to lose a lot of money that they invested into their farms.
And have you been able to get any response, especially with the Agri Directorates? What do they tell you?
Yes, so the Agri Directors have also given assurances that they have heard that government has made available some money for them to buy the rice and other grains. They are only hoping that the money will be released to the various directorates so that they can go ahead with the buying of these rice.
You've been speaking to the Agri Directors. Let's listen to him.
Your petition has been well received. The concerns have been well noted. As I made mention earlier when I met your leaders, some of these days steps have been underway to make sure that they mop up the rice. Your plea is that the buyers who come usually should come around. I also want to use this medium to say that those who usually come and buy, our mothers and our sisters who come to mop up the rice, should also come in. We receive the petition and forward it to the appropriate quarters, that is the regional office. After here, I'll just call my regional boss so that we'll liaise well and see, as a matter of urgency, to fast track things to make sure that all these concerns that have been tabled will be addressed appropriately.
Well, you heard the Agri Director there. Christopher, briefly for me, what does this mean to the plea of these farmers?
Yes, so what the Agri Director said does not really resonate with what they are demanding for, because the Agri Director, according to them, has been in the district. They've been talking to him. He's also been talking to his boss. So his assurance is not reassuring enough for them. All they want to see is that government has directed people to go into the interior communities and buy this rice. That is when they will believe that something has been done. But for now, they only think that it's just talking and talking and talking.
Okay, Christopher Mako, my colleague in the Northern region, bringing us updates on that. If you are a customer of Airtel, Tigo, and Telecel, then you want to stay and listen to the story, because the Minority Caucus has strongly condemned ongoing plans by by government to consolidate AT with Telecel, alleging that the communications minister is hastily attempting to dispose of AT, a strategic national asset. Ranking member on the Information and Communications Committee, Matthew Nyendam, accused the current communications minister of rejecting a proposal by Canadian firm Rectron to purchase shares in AT to merge the telco with Telecel to pursue a personal agenda. He says the ongoing arrangement lacks parliamentary oversight and must be immediately halted for a parliamentary inquiry. Christian Yale is our correspondent in Parliament. Christian, we understand this was a long statement. What is the essence of their message?
Grace, so the essence of what the minority is saying today is that they are not against privatization. However, they are concerned about the manner in which the communications minister is going about this whole transactional consolidation process to merge AT with Telecel. They maintain that AT's problems are almost the same as Telecel's, and so it beats one's imagination to understand that the communications minister rejected a proposal by a foreign private company, a Canada-based Rectron Incorporated, who wanted to, buy a majority shares in AT Ghana to enhance its efficiency, to choose Telecel, which is also largely owned by the private sector. They believe that the minister is up to something because then also he failed to present this whole deal or transaction to Parliament for a ratification or for an oversight. They want him to do that now, and they have even asked the president to ensure that he directs the communications minister to, first of all, as it were, and seek a parliamentary oversight to cross-check all this arrangement. They are also of the view that, the attempt to merge AT with Telecel would only end up creating a deal, but they see the monopoly also ending up to become a monopoly where it would continue to dominate the market. Grace.
Christian, what is the way forward? Should the ongoing consolidation not be halted then?
It means that step in as a of the to
Christian, I'm sorry, I'm losing you. Maybe you want to continue this conversation in our subsequent bulletins. My colleague Christian Yale updating us on that proposal by government for a merger between Airtel, Tigo, and Telecel. That will be all by way of the midday news on 3FM 92.7. It came to you live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda. Let me quickly run you by the stories that came through as headlines for us in this bulletin. Government and leadership of the ruling NDC facing growing discontent from the party's grassroots over what they describe as neglect and lack of recognition months after the party's return to power. NPP presidential hopeful Brian Champon confident of his chances as the party goes to primaries in about 3 months to elect a flag bearer. And Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly Clinic and 9 other health facilities shut down by the Health Facilities and Regulatory Agency, HEFRA, as part of its ongoing enforcement exercise. Log on to 3news.com and get some more news. Thank you for joining us. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Good afternoon.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, IMF projects 4% growth for Ghana in 2025, slightly below government's target, as its forecast 12% end-year inflation despite steady deflation trend. Also, the Bank of Ghana clears international remittance platform Send to resume remittance services after temporary suspension of operators. We'll bring you details of our headline stories and other stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. I am Enyunam Haliga. Now to our first story. The International Monetary Fund has projected Ghana's economy to expand by 4% by the end of 2025, slightly below government's 4.4% target set in the national budget. The forecast contained in the IMF's latest Global Economic Outlook report, released in Washington, D.C., reflects cautious optimism about Ghana's ongoing economic reforms under the fund's program. Thus, more in the following 3 Business report.
The International Monetary Fund is projecting Ghana's economy to grow by 4% this year, a little below government's 4.4% target in the 2025 national budget. In its latest Global Economic Outlook report, released on the sidelines of the IMF and World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C., the fund said Ghana's economic growth will pick up to 4.8% in 2026, supported by ongoing fiscal and structural reforms. The IMF's projection is slightly lower than the World Bank's 4.3% forecast for Ghana, suggesting the fund is more cautious about the country's short-term growth outlook. On inflation, the IMF expects an end-year rate of 12% for 2025, marginally higher than government's 11.9% target, despite a sharp fall in inflation to 9.4% in September. The Bank of Ghana, however, remains confident that inflation will stay within single digits by December, as disinflation continues to gain momentum.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on IMF projecting 4% growth for Ghana in 2025, slightly below government's target. Now moving on, Ghana's pioneering gold governance framework, the Gold Board, has earned rare acclaim from peers across Africa, with several finance ministers describing it as a continental benchmark for linking resource management to macroeconomic stability and long-term development. The recognition comes during a high-level roundtable convened by the Africa Development Bank on the sidelines of the 2025 IMF World Bank annual meetings. The closed-door meeting, chaired by the African Development Bank's president, Dr. Sidi Ould Tah, brought together finance ministers from Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Sudan to review strategies for strengthening fiscal resilience and resource governance across Africa. Now to some other stories. International remittance platform Send has resumed operations in Ghana after a temporary suspension by the Bank of Ghana. The central bank lifted a restriction following what both parties described as constructive engagement to address compliance concerns that raised under the 2023 guidelines for inward remittance services. Those more in the following report. The Bank of Ghana has cleared international remittance company Send to resume operations after a brief suspension last month. The central bank had halted the activities of 5 operators, including Send, Top Connect, Remit Choice, SendUp, and AfriX, citing breaches of new remittance guidelines. In a statement, Send confirmed that it is now fully operational following what it described as fruitful discussions with the Bank of Ghana. The company noted that the suspension period was used to strengthen its compliance systems. The Bank of Ghana's recent actions reflect efforts to tighten oversight of remittance service providers to ensure safety, transparency, and adherence to regulatory standards. Remittance remain a key source of foreign exchange for Ghana's economy. That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, before we go, a damning new report by the National Development Planning Commission reveals that government's capital projects across Ghana are plagued by massive cost of overruns and significant time delays, severely undermining the value for money. The NDP's 2024 Annual Progress Report shows that a total contract cost for 17,999 capital projects surged from an initial 434.8 billion cedis to 505.1 billion cedis, representing a staggering 70.3 billion cedis overrun.
The International Monetary Fund. The report pins the widespread project failures, which include substandard execution and delays of many years, on prevailing macroeconomic instability. The key culprits cited are low GDP growth, high inflation, and volatile exchange rates, which make imported materials and general execution much more expensive. Macroeconomic risk, including rising inflation and volatile exchange rates, made projects more costly to complete, according to the NDPC report. The Ministry of Defense saw the most dramatic increase, with its project cost soaring more than 6-fold, from 8 billion cedis to 55.6 billion cedis in 2024. The Ministry of Roads and Highways, managing 9,616 projects, accounted for over half of all ongoing initiatives. The Ministries of Works and Housing and Energy also recorded substantial cost escalations, while metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies managed to implement about 89.6% of their annual action plans. Only 73.4% of planned activities were actually completed, highlighting a massive execution deficit. The NDPC warned that these persistent delays and cost overruns are not just financial liabilities. They squander public funds and actively hinder social and economic development. The Commission called for urgent action, recommending stricter enforcement to project timelines, transparent procurement processes, and improved financial planning to ensure public funds deliver their intended outcomes for the nation.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on the National Development Planning Commission, revealing $70 billion overrun as major government projects plunged into delays and substandard execution. That'll be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more business news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyunam Haliga. Have a good day.